Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are continuing our read through of Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings, and we are up to chapter 51, Sas Nahn. We'll get to what that means in a moment. This is a flashback to 1 year ago. We return to Kaladin after he has fought the Sharbearer. On the field for Amaram's army, all of his men other than 4 have been killed by this Sharbearer. And he rushed towards the fight, trying to save Amaram, the only honorable Light Eyes that he's ever met. He rushes in and ends up killing the Sharbearer. Now, almost all of his men die, as I mentioned, and we come back to him. He's waiting in a room in Amaram's essentially war office, and he's sitting there just thinking back about the foolishness of what he'd done. Not just charging the Sharbearer, beating the Sharbearer, and then giving up the blades, giving up the plate. What was he thinking? He knows that he could have actually done everything that he sought out to do moving forward. Protect his family, not TN, provide for his men, save them, get them to the Shattered Plains. He could have done it all, but he gave it away because he could not stomach the idea of holding the sword that had slain so many of his friends. He's sitting there waiting, and Amaram and a couple of his honor guard come in. They're called the honor guard, though they did not show themselves to be honorable. They rushed, they fled. And so they walk in, and we are interested in a sentence that Kaladin overhears when Amaram comes in. Amaram was talking to one of his storm wardens. Of course, he's hobbling in. His leg was pretty badly broken. And this is what he says. He was talking to his storm warden, a middle-aged man with a square beard. Why Thydakar would risk this, Amaram was saying, speaking in a soft voice. But who else would it be? The ghost bloods grow more bold. We'll need to find out who he was. Do we know anything about him? He was Vaden, Bright Lord, the Storm Warden said. Nobody I recognize, but I will investigate. Okay, this is seemingly something, I believe, and it's true, they're talking about this Sharbearer that seemingly came up out of nowhere. From whatever Amaram seems to think, he's blaming this group called the Ghost Bloods. He says that they grow more bold, and this individual, Thydakar, seems to be connected with him. This is honestly not the first time we've heard of Thydakar. If we go back to the very early part of the book, and not the prologue, but if we, and I'm trying to find it here in a moment, I may jump ahead in the video if it takes me a second. I know that I marked it. Yes, back when King Gavilar is being assassinated, and he and Szeth fell off of the parapet on the outside of the castle. The king coughed and rolled in pain before Szeth comes up to kill him. And he says, you can tell Thydakar that he's too late. So this individual, Thydakar, he seems to be someone who's working behind the scenes. And even here, Amaram seems to know about him, and then we get a little bit more his organization. This organization apparently called the Ghost Bloods. And so they don't know who he is, but they know that they're growing more and more bold. And so as they continue to walk in, they sort of end that conversation. Amaram comes in, and he brings the remaining members of Kaladin's squad. Hab, Rish, Alabat, and Korib. Korib is the one that Kaladin left, gifted the Shard Blade and the Shard Plate to, knowing that when he became a Light Eyes, these shards, when you get them, they're actually so powerful that they convert you, they change your actual physiology to where your eyes become light, and then you become a Light Eyes. So they actually are so magically powerful that they change you. You actually begin to reflect the grandeur and the splendor of these blades and these plates. So he knows that when Korra became a Light Eyes, he would take care of the other 3. And so that's why he left them to him. They come in. Amaram does not remember Kaladin, even though Kaladin feels like he should. This has been years, right, since Hearthstone. And he kind of asks a question. He says, why did you reject the plate? Why did you reject the blade? And Kaladin, he doesn't answer him. He wants to say, because I don't want to become like you all. I want to reject everything that the Light Eyes stand for. He essentially just answers, I can't really answer that, sir. And he reminds him, look, I gave them to Korib, so that's my decision. That's who I think should get them. And he's a good soldier. He will serve you well. Unfortunately, everything turns here in a moment. And at a look, at a glance from Amaram, he motions to his honor guard, and they attack Kaladin. They punch him, they hit him, they try to hold him down, and the other 4 men are killed. Kaladin's life, literally everything he even thought was true about Amaram, becomes crashing down immediately. The 4 men are killed. Kaladin is restrained. He is screaming in anger. He is crying to watch the last of his men slaughtered. Amaram lets him know, I couldn't let those men live knowing what had happened. I'm taking the blade. I'm taking the plate. Your life will be saved because you saved mine. But, and his storm warden who was standing by the fire turns with a brand, this Sas Nahn brand, a slave brand. He says, but no one's going to believe the story of a slave who tried to run away. The chapter ends with Kaladin being branded, Amaram taking the shard blade, the plate would follow, walking away from him, turning his back. He says, you are being discharged as a deserter and branded as a slave, but you are spared death by my mercy. He opened the door, walked out. Kaladin felt the iron searing his flesh, and he let out a final ragged scream. So this is how Kaladin became branded as a slave. Amaram, the one who was supposed to be better, proved that he wasn't. And we can now know why Kaladin, when we find him in that slave wagon being shipped off to the Shattered Plain, we can see why he was such in despair. He'd lost everything and everyone. This is where part 3 ends of our story. We're about to go into some interludes, which again are small stories, which connect to the world in different ways. But Kaladin and Shallan have ended part 3 really as low as it can get. This is Kaladin flashing back, of course, but Shallan, even in the moment, you'll remember, she's lost it all. So part 3 is ended. We'll continue on the interludes and then finish the story in part 4. Hope you're enjoying it. Thanks so much for watching. You can like and subscribe if you're interested, and we'll keep going chapter by chapter until we finish the book.